make a vow to end homelessness, or a vow to make the best cheesecake, all you have to do is do it.
Bernie Glassman is an American success story with a twist. With interests in manufacturing, distribution, real estate, construction, and politics, he's a mini tycoon. He's also a Buddhist monk who's taken a vow of poverty. It's one man's recipe for life. 1 part baking, 1 part building, 1 part Buddhism. The world of Bernie Glassman, Bernie the monk.
The teachings of Zen is to be at ease with who you really are. Use the ingredients that are available. Just as when we cook, if we look at what the ingredients are, it then becomes our job to take those ingredients and make the best meal possible. Not to complain what you have and don't have, but figure out how to use them in the best way.
Bernie talks in Zen metaphors like that, but to put it in the Western vernacular, he practices what he preaches. Here in the Greyston Bakery in Yonkers, New York, he oversees the making of some of the best cakes and tarts around. Mixes, no shortcuts. At Greyston, they bake the old-fashioned way, from scratch, with the richest ingredients and the noblest intentions.
I wanted to bring back the old art of baking and to create jobs.
Well, mostly to create jobs for Bernie's Zen community and especially for the unemployed of Yonkers.
As the bakery grew, we got to a place where we saw some light. We saw that the bakery was now starting to support our community. I felt it was time to get more heavily involved in social action.
You are not a man of contemplation, you are a man of action.
Well, hopefully I'm also a man of contemplation, but I'm from Brooklyn.
Bernie left the aerospace industry in 1976 to devote himself to Buddhism. In a few years, he was made an abbot. He became the leader of New York's Zen community, and it was in Yonkers that he found his mission.
Equal rights! Housing now! Equal rights! Housing now!
I looked around that area and felt that the biggest problem was the homeless situation. Now, Westchester, one of the richest counties in the country, has the highest per capita homeless rate in the country. So we looked at the whole situation and said, okay, we think this is deplorable, and let's do something about it.
In a twist on Robin Hood, Bernie bakes for the rich to feed the poor, or rather so the poor can feed themselves. The profits provide housing for the homeless and jobs for the unemployed. What's homelessness to do with pastries by now should be obvious. Making a cake 1 step at a time is like ending poverty, 1 life at a time. Almost 200 people have been trained at Greyston, and many have gone on to other jobs in the food industry. And Bernie's Zen management philosophy with incentive bonuses for teamwork means more cakes.
The idea that it's not possible for business to make a profit and solve social problems at the same time is false.
Ben Cohen is the socially conscious co-founder of Ben & Jerry's ice cream.
We're finding that we can have the biggest effect on social problems by working through business, because business is such a powerful force in the society.
Cohen hired Greyston Bakery to make the brownies for their chocolate fudge brownie ice cream.
Just by deliberately and consciously sourcing our brownies from him, we would be helping these social problems that he's working on.
Greyston Family Inn, permanent housing for 18 homeless families. They're renovating a vacant building. Of course, he had to create the Greyston Construction Company to do some of the work, because that meant more jobs and training for minorities in the area. Bernie gives people a chance, but which people? Only those also willing to help themselves.
This building will be occupied by families who have shown that they are interested in getting out of the welfare system and out of the benefit mode of life. We start getting indoctrinated into just being given things. And then we can even get to the place where we expect to be given things. And we expect that that's the way the world's going to work. And it doesn't. We have to make our steps. So our first buildings are going to be occupied by families who make the steps. And we will encourage the step making, but we will not do the walking for the families.
There are 85 homeless families who want one of the 18 apartments. These women are among the hopeful. Mary Bird is a 35-year-old grandmother.
I couldn't seem to make it when I was trying out there, okay? So now I'm homeless. Hopefully Greystone will be finished by 1991. I'll be able to pay my own Con-Ed bill, pay my own rent, go buy me some food with some cash money, and not no food stamps.
The majority of the homeless families are single-parent families, women with children. So in order for them to go through job training, you need childcare. So we said, okay, let's create childcare centers. The first building has a daycare center for 44 children and has a little cafe. The cafe will have entertainment. The cafe will also be jointly run by us and the school system as a training site for retail clerks.
It is a joy to report that the first of those families will move into the Greyston Family Inn next month, and that Bernie already is negotiating to buy the building next door to house some more.
How did a bakery in Yonkers, New York, a small, slightly disheveled city next door to the Bronx, end up not only making cakes for the rich and famous, but supporting the poor and disenfranchised? The bakery we're talking about is the Greyston Bakery, a social experiment that started more than 20 years ago with the goal of employing the chronically unemployed, getting them off the streets and back into the workforce. Not only that, the profits from the bakery, and the bakery does make a profit, are used to help fund daycare centers, health clinics, and counseling services. Today, the Greyston Bakery has become a role model for companies that want to inject some social action into their business. So come with us to a bakery like no other. The Greyston Bakery is located in an old building in a section of Yonkers where the well-heeled do not walk, where inside a few cramped rooms, the bakers make gourmet cakes which are served at the finest restaurants. Cheesecakes, chocolate cakes, mousse cakes. They also bake wedding cakes and cakes which have been served at the White House. It's a $5 million a year business. But the bakery doesn't hire people to make cakes. It makes cakes to hire people. People like Rodney Johnson, a former drug dealer. He got his GED in jail and his first legal job here at Greyston.
You were making $5 an hour when you started working at the bakery?
Yes.
What were you making in the streets?
A good week? 2,000-3,000.
How did you manage to stick with a job paying $5 an hour when you could make a couple of thousand a week in the streets?
I had a child, wanted to show her something different.
And he says his drug dealing taught him some useful job skills.
When it comes to having a job to get done, we try to, at the bakery, we try to meet that quota. On the streets, when I had X amount of drugs, I try to meet that quota.
It's business.
Business.
But
at the end of the day, I don't have to worry about police coming. I don't have to stash crack. I don't have to run into buildings, things of that nature.
No, Rodney makes cakes and brownies now. He says he owes much of his turnaround in life to Julius Walls, the CEO of the bakery, who gave him and others like him a chance.
you are employing people who are generally considered by most businesses in this country to be
unemployable, hard to employ. We want to get the crumb structure a little tighter and give a better mouthfeel.
Walls was studying to be a Catholic priest, but left that calling to have a family and enter the business world. He now calls Greyston his ministry, and he believes anyone deserves a chance to work.
We get people who are straight out of prison. We have people who are just coming out of substance abuse programs and need an opportunity to make a go of their lives. We have people who are returning to work from the welfare roles.
And rehab centers and probation officers know that you're a man to call.
Yes, absolutely.
The bakery has a unique hiring policy. Every other Wednesday is open hiring day. Applicants gather outside the bakery.
If you've got one job opening, for example, and you've got two applicants, and one of them is a clean-cut high school kid, and another one is off the street, how do you make up your mind? How do you do it?
It is somewhat by chance because we number the applications. And so...
whichever guy showed up first.
Whichever guy showed up first.
Most new employees start out as apprentices working on the brownie line, where the work is repetitive and the temperature can get up to 90 degrees. About half drop out, but the other half go on to get full-time jobs with decent pay and benefits.
Why run it for profit? Why not just run it as a charity?
We understand that most people that come to work for us aren't going to stay with us forever, and they're going to have to go out and work for someone else, and we want them to understand what it means to have a real job.
The bakery employs some 65 people. People like Delaney Philogene, who left Haiti as a child and became a homeless teenage mother.
Delaney, how old were you when you came to this country?
11.
And you've been on your own since?
14, 15.
Was life pretty rough?
Sure. At some point I ended up being in a shelter and stayed there for about a good couple of months or so. And I didn't think that was a good thing for me either, and I got pregnant and left school.
How did you land at Greyston?
I applied and they told me to keep in touch. And so I went to Greyston every morning and I stood in front and waited until a position was given to me. And one day they told me they had a full week's work for me, and I was so excited.
Today, Delaney works in accounting at Greyston and provides a stable home for herself and her 2 children. And Rodney, who's been at Greyston 9 years, is the production manager of the entire bakery. Greyston cakes retail for about $35 and are sold at gourmet food shops, on the internet, and at upscale restaurants.
Do these famous restaurants where you sell your cakes know who's making them?
Some do, some don't know at all. I mean, the most interesting thing about most of the famous restaurants who I can't name is because they actually put the cakes out and say they make them.
If Greyston's an unusual place, it had an unusual founder. Bernie Glassman from Brooklyn was a Jewish aerospace engineer who said goodbye to all that and became a Buddhist priest with a bent for social activism.
I wanted to show that people that are homeless, if they're given the chance and the right training, could not only work in our labor force, but can produce the high niche items of our society. They could produce items that only the French chefs could create.
Did it go very smoothly at the beginning, or were there a lot of problems, a lot of obstacles?
We had tremendous amount of obstacles. We almost went broke a few times.
The bakery, which started in 1982, struggled for years until it struck up a deal with Ben & Jerry's, the Vermont ice cream company with a social conscience. Ben & Jerry's hired Greyston to make extra thin brownies for ice cream sandwiches. It was the biggest customer the little bakery had ever had. The bakery makes 11,000 pounds of brownies a day, just for Ben & Jerry's.
All the bakery's profits go into the Greyston Foundation, a nonprofit organization that runs programs for needy families in Yonkers, whether or not they work for the bakery. The foundation's funding doesn't only come from the brownies. It comes from grants, from other business ventures, from private donations. And the idea is that giving people jobs is fine, but it's not enough.
People also need decent housing and daycare for their kids, or how else could they keep their jobs? And the foundation offers even more, including a computer class for school-age kids and a clinic for people who are HIV positive. Another success story for the Greyston Foundation, Jamila Shabazz and her family. She was unemployed for years, not because she didn't want to work, but because she was afraid to leave her kids alone in the drug-infested neighborhood where they lived.
Where I was living, my children, one, they could not ever go outside and play because it was too dangerous.
Dangerous because?
Because of the drugs, because of the guns, and you the fighting constantly.
That all changed when Jamila and her family moved into a safe, clean, low-rent apartment owned by the Greyston Foundation. It also came with an unimaginable luxury, daycare.
Daycare was great. It was a great feeling to know that your children are safe.
Jamila found a job working with kids, and her oldest son, Kevin, got a scholarship from the Greyston Foundation to help pay for college.
What kind of future do you see for you and your family now?
My daughter, my son, they're going to do well. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
The little bakery that started it all is about to become a bigger bakery, which will presumably help more people. The Greyston Bakery is about to move into a new building designed by architect Maya Lin, whose past projects include
the Vietnam Memorial in Washington. That what you're really into are good works, and you've discovered that running a profitable business is a better way to do good works than running a charity.
That's right. Do good and do well. It's called a double bottom line. Our social mission is as important as our business mission. Our people are as important as the dollars we make.
And he hopes people will keep that in mind when they're shopping for dessert. Let them eat cake, huh?
Let them eat cake.